Hey, it's your friend Choice CJ here, and I'm bringing you guys my team builder and battle for week 4 of the MPL. We're going up against Johnny GB, coach of the Oregon Duckletts. Make sure you go check him out. Of course, all the coaches' descriptions are down below. Johnny and I have known each other for quite a while, actually. I did some Word document power rankings for a league he was in quite a while ago. It was a league with a bunch of the guys from the Hive, like Azar and Nader as always, and things like that. Through that we met, and I was able to help him get into PMC after he got his capture card, and he's really grown in popularity since then. He also started his own league called ICBA, which is pretty popular. Since then, he has also taken the mantle of making Pokemon TCG content for the Token Minorities channel. So he's kind of all over the place and really making a name for himself, so make sure you go check him out in the description below. Let's talk about his team and then talk about the squad that I decided to bring versus it. So he has Zeraora, Nihilego, Kieran Black, Uxie, Crocodile, Pikachu, Mega Scizor, Alamomola, Tangrowth, and Kecleon. So it's a pretty top-heavy draft. It's got 9 Mons plus Pikachu. Pikachu, like, I mean, you still get as like a 1-point meme, right? So like, he's effectively got 9 Mons here. And then even like on the low end, like he's got the Kecleon, which isn't really a Mon that comes to a lot of matches. I think he's already brought it twice in the first 3 weeks, so he actually is making use of it. But it means that basically his top 8 Pokemon are quite threatening. And I think the top 2 threats are probably Zeraora and Crocodile. Crocodile just because my team's weakness versus ground types is pretty well documented. Then Zeraora is just like a pretty fierce Pokemon. Like when it came out, a lot of people were a little bit down on it because its stats weren't that great and didn't get something like U-turn like Coco did. But it's just so damn fast, man, and it's just got a really good move pool. Like it's mixed, like I said, it's like missing the U-turn, which would be really nice. And it's missing something like Ice Punch, which would make it like really great because it could just run a fully physical moveset and be able to deal with something like my Gliscor extremely easily. Because of that, it's forced to run mixed with HP Ice, and it's not quite as amazing as it otherwise could be, but it's still like, it's just 143 base speed or whatever. Is that what it is? It's 143, yeah. So it's just really scary, and I don't switch in super well to it. So that's definitely one thing that I'm worried about. Its ability, Volt Absorb, makes it a pretty good Coco check, surprisingly. So, and the fact that my Coco gives it boosted electric type moves just makes it a little bit tricky to match up versus. So definitely gonna be wary of that. Things like Kyurem are always scary to deal with just because they wreck balanced teams, and my team is definitely balance leaning. But hopefully I can deal with that relatively well with a couple of the mons that I've decided to bring. Yeah, let's just not waste any more time. I already rambled for 3 minutes about how cool Johnny is. So let me just hop on into the team here. So I have a Roost, Toxic, Fire Fang, Earthquake, Gliscor. I'm actually not rocking the Toxic Orb. I'm packing Yachi Berry. And this is just mainly so that way Gliscor is as good a response to Zeraora as I can get. We do not die to HP Ice twice, like if you get 1 Yachi Berry proc. So it does like 99% max to that sort of with that sort of thing, as long as he's not like Life Orb with this sort of defense investment. We put enough attack EVs onto here so that way we can use Fire Fang to deal with Scizor relatively well. This is a toss-up between Fire Fang and Defog. Like Defog, I wanted because T-Spikes are a little bit scary versus me. But like I felt like without something like Fire Fang on Gliscor, that Scizor was just too scary. Because otherwise I'm left with just like Infernape to kind of deal with that. So that's what we wanted with the attack investment there. And pretty much we just put the rest into speed because I like to put speed on my walls. So next we do have a specially defense leaning Piloswine with Superpower, Earthquake, Ice Crash, Stealth Rock. This is actually a pretty nice offensive mon versus his team. Just because the combination of ground and ice deals with a lot of his team except for Aloe. Because Aloe is fat in general. So I'm hoping that I can actually use this to apply a bit of offensive pressure. And then we put all of our bulk investment into Spadef, so that way we could deal with Kyurem as well as possible. Like, it's still not amazing. Like, Kyurem can potentially go for Earth Power into Draco and do a lot of damage to us, or Ice Beam into Draco. But it's sort of the best switch in that I have, while still also being able to be offensive. Superpower is there just to make sure that like weird variants of Kirim can't take advantage of us. But otherwise, like, Earthquake should be able to break its sub and do lots of damage, so that's quite nice. We have enough speed on this thing for Aloe with no investment. I don't think Johnny would bring investment on his Aloe. That's not really his style. Next, we have a Culpa Mesprit. Healing Wish 3 attacks. So Healing Wish is nice for mainly Piloswine, but also just the rest of my mons in general. Like Coco and Infernape would be really nice for, just to give them more longevity. And then I just like the coverage on this Pokemon versus his team. Like, Psyshock does really well, except versus Crook and versus Scizor. But of course, Ice Beam does pretty good damage to Crook, and Empower Fire does pretty good damage to Scizor. I think this defense investment, I prioritize Spadef on this thing. And so with this defense investment, I think we take 2 Sludge Waves from Nihilego after Rocks. Or some sort of variant of that. It might be like after Life Orb or something like that. And then we put a little bit of creep onto speed and a little bit into defense. I think just the tiny bit of defense helps us take Bullet Punch from Scizor a little bit better. Yeah, I don't think we outspeed like a max speed Scizor or anything with this spread. But I don't know that he'll necessarily run U-turn on his Scizor. We'd have to see. But yeah, Culpa Berry is just so that way we live versus Crocodile. Like, basically, a Mesprit, like, it's kind of good offensively. It's kind of hard for him to kill except for Crocodile. But like, I wanted the Culpa Berry and the Levitate ability so that way I could deal with Crocodile quite a bit better, because Gliscor does deal with Crocodile, but like I said, Gliscor is sort of being prioritized for Zeraora. So if I burn my Gliscor, I don't want to just straight up lose to Crocodile. So that's the thought process behind bringing Mesprit and bringing this particular set, just for Crocodile, and also just being kind of annoying in general versus Nihilego and things like that. We also can break a sub from a max HP Kirim with this attack investment, so that's pretty nice. Next, we have a pretty simple looking Coco set, Roost U-turn, D-Gleam Thunderbolt. But we have quite a bit of bulk investment on this. This is so that way we can deal with potential Zeraora as well as possible. Just because Zeraora with the electric terrain boost hits really hard with Plasma Fists. But with this defense investment, we can take it relatively well. Basically, if he's going to use that as his primary switch into Coco, I can go for a Dazzling Gleam and then go for Twinkle Tackle versus it. And we should be able to kill most variants that I'm expecting. Like, basically, he should just bring enough speed for my Tapu Koko. With that leftover EVs invested into bulk, we can kill him with D-Gleam into Twinkle Tackle. So that's the process there. We have enough Spadef on this thing to live, I think, a Life Orb Earth Power from Kirim Black. And then we have a little bit of speed EVs on here, just enough to outspeed Nihilego. Yeah, this is like otherwise, like without this Zeraora, he actually struggles a little bit with this mon. Besides like a Scarf Kirim or a Scarf Crocodile, because I hit a lot of his team pretty hard, except for Tangrowth. I mean, Tangrowth doesn't have any recovery, right? So I can like, assuming he's packing like an Assault Vest set. If he's not Assault Vest, then like Dazzling Glue does actually pretty decent damage versus it. But like, he's never going to be able to like really 1v1 me that well with an Assault Vest set. But like Roost D-Gleam, or you know, being able to U-turn into something else puts me in a pretty good position. So I like this Coco set. Next we have a Banded Infernape. Banded Infernape making another return after I think I brought a Banded last week. So I was actually going to bring like a Fizz-Def Slack-Off Infernape this week, just to have like a very, very safe switch in to Scizor. But I don't need to be like that Fizz-Def in order for Infernape to beat Scizor. And like offensively, Infernape's just so good versus him. He only has Zeraora to outspeed. He just doesn't have anything that switches into the combination of my stabs. Like, he does have Aloe for fire type moves, and he does have Uxie for fighting type moves. But like, they get 2 KO'd by the other stab, pretty much, with the Banded set. Like, Aloe maybe takes, like, maybe it does survive, but like, if it's you know, if I can get it low enough so that it switches in on rocks and it's at like 80% or lower, we actually have a good chance to two-shot. So I just thought that the value of having Banded was too high. And if I just switch a little bit of the defense attack EVs into defense, that makes it pretty easy for me to live boosted bullet punches from Scizor. I think we take like a +4 adamant with this defense investment after rocks or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, it just is too good offensively not to bring. So that was the point with this. And like, the Mach Punch with the Choice Band is just really clutch as well versus like Scarf Kirim and Scarf Crocodile, because those two mons are potentially scary. So I like that quite a lot. And just having the offensive Infernape to like come in after Tapu Koko U-turns, like if he goes into Tangrowth on my Koko and I U-turn into Infernape, puts me in a really good position because I can apply tons of pressure. And last but not least, we have a new addition this week. I don't know if I talked about this at all at the end of last video, but we actually made a transaction dropping the Kangaskhan for a Selgor this week. And a Selgor is making its debut in this matchup, bringing Spikes, Bug Buzz, Fire, Hidden Power Fire, and U-turn. We have enough defense investment on this thing so that way we live an Adamant, Bullet Punch after Rocks, in case he chooses to bring that in on my Selgor. So we can hit it with a Bug Buzz and Hidden Power Fire, get that thing relatively low. I just like Spikes to pressure his team, especially his Regenerator Core. So that way I can clean up in the late game with either Koko or Infernape. I think that that's really nice. And then yeah, like Selgor applies relatively good offensive pressure anyway. He kind of just has like Nihilego and Scizor to switch into it. I can't really hit Nihilego with this set, but as long as he's not Scarf, I can just pretty easily U-turn into like any of my first 3 Pokemon. None of them are 2-shot from like Nihilego, assuming that it's unboosted. So I think this is going to be a really good set this week. Hopefully I can get up a Spike and kind of punish him for pivoting on me all the time. So that's the team. Let's now flip to the battle. And you can see here that Johnny has brought Crocodile, Mega Scizor, Aloe, Nihilego, Tangrowth, and Kyurem Black. So the huge surprise for me here is that there is no Zeraora. I was saying, you know, I think that was a really big threat versus me because my Tapu Koko gives it boosted attacks. It gets good coverage for my ground types. It can hit Gliscor with Hidden Power Ice pretty hard, and then Piloswine does not really appreciate close combats from that thing. So not seeing it is a huge relief. I don't know if I'm too surprised by anything else. Like Crocodile was definitely going to come. Aloe was definitely going to come. Tangrowth I think was definitely going to come. Like without the Zeraora, it's definitely going to be an Assault Vest Tangrowth to deal with my Tapu Koko as well as possible. No doubt about that. Scizor is just kind of hard for my team to deal with in general. Like I don't think it's necessarily like a great setup sweeper, but like without Infernape, I don't have super awesome coverage moves to hit it. Like even like my Fire Fang from Gliscor only does like 45% or so to a Max Fizz Def Scizor, and so it's quite a problem for my team. Kira makes sense because it's Rex balance, and like I said, I kind of have a balanced squad. And Nihilego I guess is the one main surprise to me. I don't know if it's going to be like Hazard Stack or what it is. It's kind of my first fear. It could be good offensively, but just like I feel like I have enough coverage to deal with it. Or sorry, enough bulk on my team to deal with it without any sort of boosts. So anyway, I decided to leave with Infernape as my lead because it applies pressure to pretty much everything that's on the team. It outspeeds everything that's not as like on this team without taking Scarfs into account. If he wants to like lead into Aloe or something like that, I can just easily U-turn out of that into Tapu Koko. That's the nice thing about bulky Tapu Koko as well, is that it makes it very safe to switch in on Aloe, and I could just like roost off any Scald damage, threaten it with T-Bolt and stuff like that. I quite like that aspect of the bulky Koko this week. And then like if I lead with Scarf and Infernape, like he's also if I lead with Bandit and Infernape, he has to kind of fear the Scarf. So like that might come into play as well in terms of the mind games. So I'm gonna lead with Infernape. I'm going to click play and wish good luck, have fun to Johnny GB. So yeah, we're 2-1 going into this week. So a dub would put us up to 3-1, which sounds way better than a 2-2 record that we would get after catching an L. So let's hope that works out for us. So I am going to lead off with my Zuko, my Infernape, like I mentioned, and he's going to lead off with his Crocodile. And so this is a little bit spooky, and in a moment here I'm actually going to pause because he's going to reveal that he has no Intimidate on this Crocodile. Which of course screams that it's an offensive set, particularly Scarf. And so he's got Aloe in the back, right? Like Aloe is like a pretty automatic play versus almost any Infernape set. And the way that I'm leading with this, like I feel like I'm telegraphing Scarf. And so like if I'm Scarf and I click U-turn and I go into Gliscor and he like is potentially a Scarf Crocodile, and he clicks Scarf EQ as I go into my Gliscor, like he loses a lot of momentum, right? So I'm like, okay, like he's got to respect my my Scarf Infernape here. So I'm like, okay, you know, I'm gonna bluff it, and I'm gonna just click U-turn as he probably goes into his Aloe. And there's even a chance too that the Crocodile is not necessarily Scarf, because like you know, if he wants to have this as his stealth rocker over like Nihilego, he wants to run like a more offensive set of Nihilego. Then you know, I think that U-turn is an overall safe play for me. But his Scarf stays in and clicks EQ. So, I don't personally agree with this play, just because I feel like the drawbacks for him were pretty high. But you could say the same thing about my play, right? Like, me trying to be aggressive there and catch some early momentum ended up biting me in the ass really bad there, because I lost basically my strongest Pokemon on the team this week, the Pokemon that had the best chance of winning. So, I think mostly I was just, in the moment I was really kind of salty about how it played out, but in hindsight, like, I think I was being over aggressive. So I don't really fault Johnny for it. He made the good read in the moment and was able to really take advantage of me. It just stinks because on Monday when I uploaded my BBL battle, I got taken advantage of for trying to make an over-aggressive play, and then it happened here again. So maybe I just need to make an adjustment, because this is just getting nuts, unfortunately, with how badly I'm sort of over-predicting these things. So anyway, Tank Growth comes in. Like, I bring in my Gliscor because obviously he's Scarf, and obviously he's going to want to switch out because he can't hit me with EQ. So I go for a Toxic as he brings in his Tangrowth. I go for a Fire Fang just to gauge the damage as he throws off a knockoff. Losing the Yachi Berry is a little bit annoying, but it's not the biggest deal because Ice. I want to take an HP Ice from Zeraora mainly. Like, it'd be nice to potentially have it to take damage from like HP Ice on Nihilego or something like that. But it's not as big of a deal. Like, I still have Piloswine and Mesprit to take hits from that. So anyway, bringing my Mesprit on his Tangrowth, he doubles into his Crocodile to potentially take the Psychic move. But I go for the Ice Beam because that's my strongest move to hit the Tangrowth anyway. And I luck out pretty bad with a Freeze here. So this is going to like really affect his gameplay here, right? Because like, whereas he could have gone potentially for a Dark type move to do lots of damage to me, now he's not going to be able to do that. He's going to have to go on into his Aloe. In a way, actually, I kind of wish I hadn't gotten the Freeze. Like, this is a classic, like, thing for people to say when they hack somebody. Like, oh, it actually would have been better for me if I didn't hack him. But in this case, I think it's actually true, because he would have just gone for knockoff versus my Mesprit, right? And I have a Colbur Berry, so I would have been able to kill it with a second Ice Beam and eliminate what's probably the biggest threat to my team, being that Scarf Crocodile. So it's funny how things work out, but it definitely makes things awkward for him. Because now he basically has a Pokemon that he can't do anything with. So it definitely stinks for him. So anyway, I go into my Tapu Koko on his Alomomola. He goes into his Tangrowth as I predict that, and I go for a U-turn. So my Solgar comes in here. Like, this is obviously pretty threatening to this Tangrowth. Like, even if he can take one because he's Assault Vest, like, he doesn't want to take too much damage because he doesn't want to... he doesn't want to lose it because it's his best way of dealing with Coco besides a Scarf Crocodile. So he does decide to switch out, which makes sense, and I am able to get up a Spike on that switch. So that's pretty nice. I finally get up a layer of Spikes like I want. That's going to be really pivotal for wearing down Tangrowth and Alomomola. So versus his Nihilego, like, I can't really do anything. I just go into my Piloswine, which actually takes kind of a lot of damage, which isn't really that great. So I don't know what kind of set of Nihilego this is. I don't think it's Scarf. It certainly doesn't look like it. But he goes into a Scissor here as I decide just to click EQ. Like, I didn't want to get too cheeky there and click Stealth Rocks. He could have gone for something like Grass Knot to do a decent chunk of damage to me, and so I didn't want him to basically get that for free. Like, getting rid of the Nihilego in that spot would have been really nice. But we do a little bit of damage to this Scizor. Shows that it's definitely Fizz Def. And without my Infernape, I'm pretty much left to go into my Gliscor to try and deal with this thing. Like, it is nice because he didn't bring the Zeraora. Gliscor is a little bit freer to deal with this Scizor. So I can switch it in and hit it with Fire Fang. Unfortunately, I went through the hard work of getting up that Spike, and he's able to just defog it away. Makes me very grateful that I did not click Stealth Rock with the Piloswine. Because he would have just immediately gotten it away. At least this way I get a little bit of damage on Scizor. But anyway, I go into Tapu Koko here because with my Gliscor in, he has a pretty free switch into Kyurem Black, because I don't have any way to really threaten Kyurem Black. So because I'm in the back, I feel like I have to make the double and try and get a step ahead of him. So I do that, and I go into Tapu Koko, and I actually click Twinkle Tackle. And so I do this because, he should be able to live Dazzling Gleam, even from like a max special attack Tapu Koko, I wouldn't be able to kill him. And so like there's a chance that he stays in just trying to catch my Tapu Koko with a very powerful Earth Power. Like, I don't know what sort of item he is right now, right? Like, he could be Life Orb or Specs or something like that and try and take me out. So I feel like it's worth it. He does go into the Tangrowth, which is annoying because it takes the Twinkle Tackle relatively well, but I keep it at a pretty low range of HP, which is nice. And he's going to switch it out into his Alomomola. I guess, I'm never clicking T-Bolt in that situation, so Alomomola in that situation is safe. If I go for another Dazzling Gleam, he can take it pretty easy with the Aloe, and then double back into Tangrowth on the next T-Bolt. So I E-turn into a Selgor because this is a decent chance for me to set up spikes again. But he's gonna throw off a Toxic, so a little annoying, but not a big deal. Like a Selgor doesn't really serve as a switch into anything. So I got up my spike. Maybe I could have gone for a second spike, but I'm pretty sure that I throw off just a Bug Buzz. Just to try and get damage on the Alomomola and maybe force it to Wish, and then I can take advantage of that and get another turn back into my Tapu Koko. But he makes, the safe play of going into his Nihilego, because he really can't touch this thing without, like, HP Ground or Final Gambit or anything like that. So definitely starting to get a little bit concerned here. Like, I started this game with like a 5% chance to win because of the turn 1 play. And anything I can do to try and crawl back from that obviously would be fantastic, but it's an uphill climb. But like this Nihilego is starting to chip down my entire team. Piloswine's pretty chipped. This Mesprit now is pretty chipped because it took a power gem. And, I don't have a way to break this Aloe. Even with the Spike up, I don't have a really great option for dealing with that. So he takes the Side Shock really, really well. I go for Side Shock again. Maybe he'll go for a Toxic on my Mesprit. And then follow up with a Wish, because it doesn't look like I can even do a KO. He goes for the Wish immediately. And so, I don't recall what I do in this. Oh, yeah, so I double out, and I go into Koko here. So I guess I went to Koko because I'm expecting the Protect, and then I can threaten this thing with Electric-type moves. So that's the thought process there. But he ends up passing actually into his Krookodile, which in the moment was kind of befuddling. Because I'm like, this Pokemon is basically not doing anything now, right? Because it's frozen. But it kind of makes sense in a few turns. So I do go into my Gliscor, which doesn't really care for anything that this Krookodile can do because it's immune to the ground type attacks. I don't have an item anymore, so I can't really do a lot of damage with knockoff. But he does actually thaw on the second turn, which it's good for him. But I don't want him to feel like he got screwed over because he got frozen in the match. So I'm grateful for, in that sense, that it happened. I do end up landing a Toxic on this thing after he thaws out. I wasn't expecting him to stay in versus Gliscor to try and thaw. And so he does get Toxic there, and then he goes into his Kyurem. I don't think I stay in here. No, I go for Roost. So that was my best play in that situation if he wanted to go for another attacking move. Kyurem is definitely hard for Gliscor to stay in on. He does show the leftovers, which makes me think, shit, this is definitely sub. But again, I can't stay in with Gliscor. He can one-shot me with Ice Beam, and then, Gliscor's just still too valuable for dealing with, Scizor and dealing with Krookodile. And so, I go to my Piloswine. Piloswine can basically deal with anything that Kyurem wants to do, as he does go for that substitute. And so, I don't know exactly what sort of spread that he has, but I think I just go for Earthquake here instead of Superpower, thinking that that's enough to take out the sub. Goes for Earth Power, does reasonable damage, suggests that he's special attack invested. At least he's not Life Orb or Specs or anything like that. Also in a sense that that's pretty nice. I very nearly make a double into here going into Tapu Koko, either expecting him to switch or to go for the Dragon move, just because that would get me a lot of momentum to do that. But on the off chance he wanted to go for another Earth Power, I just decided that I didn't want to make that play, and I left him my Piloswine. But he does bust out the Draco Meteor, and he is going to be able to take out my Piloswine. So, coulda, woulda, shoulda. It sucks. I wanted to make the aggressive play turn 1 with the Infernape, and that ended up biting me. Here I was thinking about it, but I decided to make the conservative play, and then I ended up getting punished for making the conservative play. So definitely unfortunate. But I go into my Tapu Koko here, and I think I just click Dazzling Gleam versus this Kyurem. I don't think I click U-turn, but he does withdraw, and he goes into his Tangrowth as I hit this thing up with a Dazzling Gleam. Like, luckily he is toxic, and the spike is up to do a little bit of residual damage. But I throw off this Dazzling Gleam here. It doesn't do a ton of damage, but like I can convince myself that after that little bit of toxic damage that he might be in range of a second. And I was debating between going for that and going for U-turn. Like, U-turn on the calc does a little bit more damage to an Assault Vest Tangrowth. But like if I U-turn into pretty much anything else on my team, it gives him a free Kyurem. And so at least with Tapu Koko, I don't like give him a free Kyurem. So that's why I was like, okay, well maybe Dazzling Gleam is worth it because maybe I'll kill. But like it's hard to estimate the amount of HP. He pretty comfortably lived and then went for an EQ. Probably what would have been a nice play was like to go for Roost just to get to max HP. And then he could go for EQ, and then I kill the next turn with Dazzling Gleam, because that means that the Scizor can't come in and kill me with Bullet Punch. Because for the range of HP that I'm at, like, he's going to click Bullet Punch because he doesn't know what kind of spread I am, right? With my spread, there's a chance that he doesn't kill, but there's a good chance that he might. But if I had just that like 20 or 30 extra HP, I could have afforded to stay in with Koko and click T-Bolt. And so I go into Gliscor to take the Bullet Punch, and then I double back into Koko because I was thinking he would go into Kyurem on my Gliscor. But instead he stays in Roosts, which stinks. Like, he said he was leaving the Scizor in to sack it, so that way he could get his Kyurem in to do the most amount of damage. Basically like sack the Scizor, then get in Kyurem, and then get up a sub or get a kill or whatever. But it doesn't quite agree with his that statement doesn't quite agree with like his Roost play, like trying to sack it off like to my Fire Fang. But it's whatever. Like he basically gets a switch into Kyurem whether he U-turns into it or he or whatever else, or he sacks the Scizor to my Gliscor. So anyway, he has the Crocodile here, and he goes for the Crunch. And I go into my Gliscor, as he does not do that much damage to me. I think I just get off the Roost here, as he doubles into his Nihilego. Pretty aggressive play, but a good one because he knows how pressured I am to Roost in this instance. And so I do get off that Roost. I do the Calc. He hasn't shown Life Orb or Choice Specs or anything like that. So I should be able to pretty easily live this HP Ice, and I am going to end up taking it out with the EQ. It still does a shitload of damage, though. It brings me to 11 HP. I think after the match I found out that this was like an Expert Belt speed boosting set, which could have also potentially swept me in this case, because with +1 speed boost, he outspeeds everything on my team. He has like Power Gem to hit this Pokemon. He has Sludge Wave for Tapu Koko and things like that. So really nice set. That's one of my favorite sets on Nihilego for sure. But basically now my Gliscor is to a range of HP where it cannot survive anything from this Crocodile. He gets off the Crunch. And yeah, he gets the Moxie Boost. So with the Moxie Boost, he can kill my Acelgor and my Tapu Koko now with Crunch. My Mesprit's at 1 HP. Basically, I have to go into Koko and hope that somehow I get a roll, and then I can kill it with Dazzling Gleam. But even then, I'm left with a Koko with practically 1 HP, a Mesprit with literally 1 HP, and then I forget what the last Pokemon is that I have. It's something else that can't really deal with his team all that well. And so he does throw off that Crunch, and it does unfortunately kill my Tapu Koko. And that pretty much spells GG for me. I end up losing 4-0 to Johnny, and we're going to drop to 2-2 on this season. So yeah, like, I'm sure I came across as a little bit grumpy about this match. It's mostly just because I hate losing in general. There's nothing against Johnny or anything. Like, Johnny just had my number in this game. Like, every time I thought I was making a good play, he really got the better of me, whether it was the turn 1 with the Tapu Koko, whether it was with the Kyurem going for Draco Meteor versus my Piloswine when I was considering the Tapu Koko switch in. Or in the end game there with the Scizor versus my Tapu Koko, and then I brought in the Gliscor, and then I thought he would go into Kyurem there, so I tried to make an aggressive play, but instead he just stays in with Scizor and clicks Roost. So he just like danced around me on the field today, like just danced circles around me, getting every single play correct. whereas I couldn't seem to get a single one. So, hats off to Johnny for really bringing his A game this week. I don't know quite what his record is right now. It might be 3-1, but his team is looking very scary because it's just got the right combination of fat and offense, where it's hard to break it down, especially when you throw away your most powerful Pokemon turn 1. It makes it very hard to break through. But I digress. Like I said, it's going to drop us to a 2-2 record, and so we have 5 weeks left in the season. If we can go 3-2, we'll still probably make playoffs. So I just have to, continue to play well and try and bounce back after this pretty tough defeat. I haven't had a defeat this large in a while, I don't think. Like in BBL, like I think I had one loss versus Sparks the God that was pretty bad, but I think even that was only like a 2 or 3-0. It just felt like I got spanked in that game. In this game, I both got spanked and had a big differential loss, so that was definitely unfortunate. So yeah, we just have to do our best and make sure we get more wins than losses for the rest of the season. So as I said, at the beginning, make sure you go check out Johnny. He and I have known each other for a long time, and he's got a really good channel. And make sure you check him out on Token Minorities as well for Pokemon TCG content. Our opponent next week is none other than Root. And we last played him in UBL. Got a little bit lucky versus him, actually, in terms of he sort of misplayed in a situation with his Mega Diancie versus my Heatran. Go check that match out if you want more on our history. But Root's not going to be any sort of pushover, so let's hope that we can give him our best. And yeah, if you're looking forward to that battle, make sure you drop a like and leave a sub so you can stay up to date on all of my MPL games and all of my other latest and greatest Pokemon and gaming content. So until the next time, I will see you guys later.